And we're talking about this bill, $1.9 trillion. Now, do you want to continue where you left off, or should I ask you another question?
Yeah, if I may, because this is really important.
Yes, please. I'd like you to.
Yeah, so basically, Florida, I was in Florida this past weekend, and you have listeners around the country, many in California where you are, and people must think like blue states where everything's locked down is the normal. But that's not the normal. If you go to red states like Florida, I mean, Dennis, everything is open in Florida. I mean, the schools are open, the restaurants are open, the beaches are open, the churches are open, and it's a happy place, and it's a place with a low unemployment rate. They've got a budget surplus right now. And I talked to the governor there, Ron DeSantis, who's a rising star in the Republican Party for the way he's dealt with this crisis. And by the way, they have a low death rate, a pretty low death rate from the virus, even though they've kept their businesses open. And he was telling me, he said, Steve, we have a 5.3% unemployment rate. Meanwhile, New York, which is a catastrophe, New York City is boarded up. It is just heartbreaking to see what the left has done to the great city of New York, one of the greatest cities in the world. And he said, that New York has about 8 or 9% unemployment rate, Dennis, and yet because New York has a high unemployment rate, Florida, which has a higher population than New York, there's 22 million people who live in Florida and 20 million who live in New York. Dennis, under this bill, New York gets twice as much money as Florida. So Florida's penalized for doing the right thing.
Florida's penalized for having a Republican governor.
That's right, and for opening up their economy.
Yes,
and the same could be said of California.
That's right.
Boatloads of money.
Right.
And I'll give you another example.
That's why I said it was one of it may be the most corrupt bill ever passed in American history.
Well, may I give you another example of this?
The more, the merrier.
So there's $150 billion for the schools in this bill. By the way, why is it that schools that have been shut down for the last 10 months, they need more money? They should actually the schools should be giving us our money back for not teaching our kids. But in any case, we absurdly give the schools $150 billion that have been shut down. Meanwhile, most private schools in the country have actually been open. Certainly September. My 2 kids are in a Catholic school that have been open. Nobody's gotten sick. None of the teachers have gotten sick. And we have about 10 to 15% of kids in America that are educated in the private school system. But of that $150 billion, like 2% of the money goes to the private schools that have been open.
How
and those
corrupt.
Teachers are the
is that corrupt? Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's corrupt.
We're rewarding cowardice.
Yes.
Teachers have turned out to be cowards. Hypochondriac cowards, I might add.
There are a lot of teachers who actually do want to teach, but they haven't been allowed to. Although, in Chicago, 2/3 of the
but they don't stand up against the teachers union. This is a perfect example of the. All right, so there you go. It's irrelevant. Good teachers, good teachers who love education, love students, are irrelevant. That's it. It's as simple as that. They're just irrelevant. They're as relevant as those who loved blacks in the antebellum South. Irrelevant.
Yep. You want another example?
Yeah.
I'm filled with them. Okay, here's another one that should make people just so angry. So this bill gives 5 weeks of what do they call it? Pay, basically, paid leave for federal employees. 5 weeks, worth about $20,000 per worker. No private sector worker in the bill gets that. It only goes to federal workers. And then you say, gee, why would they want to give this super benefit to government workers and not a private sector worker? And the answer, of course, is that the government employee unions gave hundreds of millions of dollars to Biden.
That's what I said. It's the most corrupt bill in American history. It's pay to play.
It's the term we used to use is graft. It's graft.
Graft. That's correct. Also the pet projects that what is the bridge in New York or whatever it is? What is Schumer's pet project getting millions for?
Oh, there's hundreds of them. I mean, the New York subway system, which has basically been closed for the last 10 months, it gets $6 billion.
$6 billion? $6 billion?
$6 billion for the New York subway.
Right.
So, yeah,
By the way,
millions.
it'll be very interesting to see if anything happens. In other words, will they use it?
Well, that's a good question. And incidentally, did you see
Yes,
the Wall
it
Street
is.
Journal lead editorial yesterday that finds that states, red states like Florida and Texas and Tennessee and Utah and Idaho that are fiscally responsible, they are prohibited from cutting their taxes now for 4 years.
I did not know that. Wow. Democratic Party, destroyer of the D stands for destroyer.